it felt like the writers were trolling us.
I love that people figured it out. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that people are that smart, and I'm not.
There is a wide range of opinions on this season. So Don gathered some interesting and funny ones for us to look at.
Okay.
Starting with Blake from Nerds at Night.
Well, I'm surprised it wasn't on your bingo card because
I think it's going to be a great season. And I even have a theory about...
Today, Sterling and I are discussing the finale to Only Murders in the Building, Season 5.
So spoilers are ahead.
We are talking about our overall thoughts on the episode and the season.
And reacting to other people's thoughts.
And of course, we have to theorize about that ending.
So without further ado, let's dive into this episode. Starting with your thoughts.
I think overall, the episode was okay. It wasn't anything crazy. I think it confirmed a lot of theories that we had all been speculating about. I think there were some really good bits to it. You know, kind of watching the gang be in trouble and like worm their way out of it. You know, that gave us, I feel like, some of the best gang trio interaction that we've had all season.
Oh, yeah.
As a season, I think it's probably one of the better seasons. I think I like this season a little bit more than last season, but maybe not my favorite season.
It's wild how different people's opinions are because I had a very different experience. I think this season is at the bottom for me, and I think this episode kind of helped solidify its spot. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the season. That doesn't mean I think it was a bad show, a bad season, anything along those lines. But it felt like the writers were trolling us.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
When I think of like Scream, you know, Scream is a great horror because Scream is fully aware of all of the horror tropes, and it uses those against the audience in order to make something that ends up being a surprise. But you aren't aware that that's happening. You don't you're invested in the moment, and you don't realize that it's trolling you. Instead, that just affects your like emotional experience. You get tense when you think that something is going to happen and it doesn't happen because it's using these tropes against you. And then it surprises you when you don't expect it because once again, it's like completely deconstructed the genre and use that as a way to make something that is surprising. But you don't feel aware of it. You don't feel like you see that happening. And this season, I have felt aware of the fact that they are trolling us, and specifically the scene around the card table where they're all showing off why their fingers are real felt like it was talking like directly to the audience of like, here are the theories that you have had, and we're going to like disprove them one at a time. And it's like, in your face, you fell for our tricks.
But couldn't you also make the argument that, you know, this was all filmed before any of our theories came out?
Yes.
And so, like, the fact that they were able to pinpoint, like, what we were going to theorize on, I feel like that's kind of cool. Like, that you pointed out the aura finger, the ring, you know, we've talked about Jay Flug and how it does look like he's just bent his finger down.
Right.
And we've all talked about Camilla and her gloves. So... To me, that's like part of the magic of it, right? Like magic has kind of been a big theme in this one where it was like, oh, look, you were looking under all these shells. You guys were all focused over here when the actual crime was Mayor Tillman, you know, like, so nobody was really theorizing about his fingers, even though he had a ring finger on the same finger.
There were definitely not in our comments, I don't think, but there definitely were people that accurately guessed that. I mean, basically anything that was like hand related, people were all over hands this season, and the writers went out of their way to create all of those red herrings on purpose to like, because the finger I think was like the biggest thing that was happening the entire season. Like they kept bringing up the finger, and so they made a point of like Camilla with the glove, even Nona in the beginning with the oven mitt, you know, is obscuring a finger. And so it kind of makes you ask that question. But then, you know, like there's at least one moment where Tillman actually bends his finger. And I think it's because they probably didn't want to give away to the cast who it was. And so I don't think he was wearing, something that would like keep his finger rigid. He just had to like remember it in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And there was at least one moment where he bent his finger because of it. And the thing is, like, they did this whole thing to like get us to look through a microscope at everybody's hands. And that made some people say like, it's not the case. Also, it's kind of like, it's a little bit ridiculous that if he lost his finger, he would need stitches and there would be a bandage for a period of time. Now, that could be like before what we witness, but I don't think that he would be that quickly giving, talking at somebody's like funeral week after with like a fake finger and not having like red around it or something like that.
Yeah, because I think it was only a week later that happened. So yeah, that part, I did feel like it looked a little too healed, especially when Mabel cut his finger off. There was just the stump. There was no stitches. And this is all taking place within like 2 weeks. Like he would be healing probably like 6 weeks, mostly having, a bandage or even a scar or something, like stitches, like. So that part was a little lackluster for me. What do you think about Tillman being the murderer?
I think that, he was one of the ones that like we had theorized because he fit that MO of never being pointed at too hard and like really being looked at like super close. He did the thing that some of the killers do where he like helps them, where he says like, oh, it's so like, let me go on your podcast.
Bash.
It's definitely Bash. Like sends him sends the trio in the wrong direction by giving them like helpful advice. And so I felt like he kind of fit the profile of it. So it didn't blow me away, but everybody's different. I love that like this is higher up for you. And I do want to make it clear, like I'm so happy for anybody that like completely called everything right. Like I'm not unhappy at anybody for like getting that right. I'm unhappy with the writers for some of their choices where it just feels like a little unrealistic. It doesn't feel like completely well written. And that's and so for me, it actually like kind of, I think, detracted from the story. Like going back, rewatching this episode a second time and like deconstructing it and thinking about the bigger picture, I want to love this episode. I really do, because we've been talking about the mafia. We've been talking about the new mafia, like the CEOs.
Yep.
We've been talking about AI, corruption, like the people that get hurt with all of these things. And this, for me, feels like it should have been such a rewarding episode because it's like David versus Goliath, It's like this one doorman that we love against literally billionaires and the mayor. It's right versus wrong. It's taking a stand for what you believe in. Like, I love the idea. I do. Watching it the second time, I was like, oh, it's such a good idea.
But I do see that there are a lot of flaws with this season. I do feel like there were a lot, like too many characters and like too many like side plots. Like you could pretty much remove Thee from the whole season and it wouldn't change what happened. Like even still, like her performing down there in the bottom, like the gang got out on their own. They could have easily gone back upstairs and outed everybody. So like literally Thee did not need to exist in this season. So it does feel like there was a little bit more fillery moments, a lot of stuff with, as much as I love her, Meryl Streep's character, Loretta, there was just like a lot of her just kind of doing stuff to be like, hey, look, I'm in the season, which also you could cut her out and give the trio more screen time. I do feel like the trio lacked, like they were in it, but they like lacked anything that they were doing. Like we knew Charles was on testosterone or,
right.
Not really, he's like trying to date again. Oliver is potentially selling his place and Mabel was reconnecting with a friend. Like their arcs this season were a little bit less. And I think that's partially because we had so many characters that we had to look at You know, we
Right.
had Tillman, we had Randall, we had the brothers, Nona, the billionaire CEOs, and having all these like kind of fit in. Like I did predict that the CEOs were gonna like be like the trio that the casts were, but
Right.
the cast, I feel like they were more side characters, like Eugene Levy, Ava Longoria, and Zach Galifianakis. They were very like side characters, where the billionaire trio were like the main targets, the main, like, we were focused on them pretty much the entire season. So with
Right.
that and all these other side characters that they were trying to point at, it did feel like there was a lot of bloat to it that was maybe not necessary.
But I can also see an argument for like that's important with a murder mystery, is to have a wide selection of people to be able to point the blame at. And, 100% I agree with you that like Thee could have been removed from the story, but having her added another person for us to possibly look at. And if in the end she actually wasn't tied in any way to the murder, it's not like she didn't even like steal the finger to like look like she was tied to the murder. It's just another person that makes you wonder like, ooh, there's got to be something going on here. What did you think about Tillman as the killer? Did you like that surprise? Not like that surprise?
I feel like it didn't feel as impactful, and maybe this is because I feel, when you think about like Marshall being the killer in the last season, like he was in probably a majority of the episodes doing a majority of the things, like he was constantly going to them for ideas of writing and how would you say this? And so we got him in our face a lot. I'm trying to think of like other killers. It does feel like other killers have been more present. And, he had his speech in the beginning and he showed up at like dinner and then on the podcast one time. So like he was present, but he didn't feel like he was really part of what was going on.
Yeah, I feel you on that, because like when he showed up at dinner, like that was almost like a cameo, And
yeah,
I think he had like just enough screen time to be somebody that you're not going to be completely disappointed that it's them, where it's like, who? I don't even remember this person,
Right.
Where like they didn't really affect the story. But I do think that he was on kind of like the lower end of it.
Yeah, and I'm forgetting his name right now. Not Jordan. He's
Keegan Michael Key.
Keegan Michael Key. Having it be like a more well-known actor, Keegan Michael Key. Like I had said that, and I was proven wrong, by the first murder, that it's not usually an A-tier, A-list actor. But I was proven wrong yet again. But yeah, I think that he just didn't have enough to do this season, and so he doesn't feel like a satisfying murderer. And you think of like Mayor Tillman murdering a doorman. It's just like, like why he murdered him because he was looking for his finger, even though he said he didn't have the finger. Like, it seems to me like being caught in this like billionaire shady organization, like where you didn't really kill Nicky Cacciamilio, so why would you kill the doorman just to get your finger back when he doesn't have it? It doesn't seem like great motive.
Right. Okay, there are two other gripes that I have.
Okay, lay them on me.
So, gripe number one, let's get into semantics.
Okay.
And semantics are important because, like, I don't want to talk too much about this semantic, but like they played with semantics at the very end of like, is she in the building? So they play with semantics themselves. So here's a little bit of semantic. Did murder happen this season, or could you argue that they were both homicides?
Oh, I think you're meaning like it's like first degree murder and second degree murder, where it's like,
well, no, I'm actually talking about murder versus homicide. Let's look at this. Okay, so homicide is the general term for killing another person, which can be lawful, like in self-defense, or unlawful. Murder is a specific type of unlawful homicide that requires malice aforethought, meaning there is an intent to kill or serious harm or a reckless disregard for human life. Lester.
Yeah.
Lester killing Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Homicide or murder?
I would go with definitely homicide. Homicide. Like, Nikki was on drugs. He, like, basically stumbled onto Lester. You know, Nikki was the one that chopped off Mayor Tillman's hand, and
Right.
and Lester was the one that took the axe, you know, like, or the cleaver.
Right.
Not really his fault. So Lester's in the clear. Lester's name is untarnished.
Lester, to me, that is like 100%, homicide. Like even when he hit him with the crank in the back of the head, even if that like led to him getting dizzy and then falling down and falling on the cleaver, I think with decent lawyers, like not even like perfect lawyers that can like actually get a killer free, with like decent lawyers, I think that, Lester would be cleared of murder charges and maybe only get like some kind of like, homicide. And then the other one, like I would even argue with Tillman to Lester, I think there is even an argument there where Tillman might have been threatening murder in order to scare Lester, but had no intent in killing him. And it's not like he struck him with a weapon. He knocked him back and Lester hit the back of his head and he died because of that. So there is definitely like, you can argue that there is reckless disregard for human life, and it's hard to know a person's intent. So there is an argument for the fact that Tillman could have wanted to kill Lester, but I doubt that.
But I also don't like, so another way to look at it is also like first degree murder and second degree murder. And it's kind of basically what you're saying, where it's like the intent to kill or like killing in the heat of passion, right? It's like,
was it planned or was it in the moment?
Right. I don't think Tillman was like, I'm going to murder that doorman tonight. So it was very much like things got heated. He stole his finger. He is, feeling like he's kind of like trapped in a box that he has to get out of. And so if people know that he's doing these shady gambling deals with these billionaires and his finger gets out and yada, 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 could put him in a real pickle. So, yeah, I don't think he intentionally was like, I'm killing Lester tonight. Let's murder. But I would also argue that I don't think that most of the murders in the building are like they've planned out to kill these people, right? It's always like the circumstance that happens, right?
Marshall definitely was planned.
Marshall was planned. You're right.
1,000% Marshall was planned. So that's first degree. I would say that the other ones are probably second degree murder, maybe.
Yeah, I think. I feel like all of those ones kind of happened out of like necessity for like the what was going on. So
yeah.
I would classify it, but I do feel like this one does feel like the most accidental.
Right.
But also still murder, bro.
Yeah,
still killing people.
But I'm sticking with the fact that one of them is definitely homicide, not murder. And I think that's Nikki's. And so I think that clears Lester's name. And then the second one, I think is arguable that might be homicide and not technically murder.
And also with that one, pushing Lester back and him falling back on his head, you don't know that that's going to happen. Like that does feel very accidental. Like, so I could give Mayor Tillman a pass on that one too, maybe. And maybe because it was so accidental, we'll see Bo Tillman again, running for re-election.
I think that would hurt the audience. Like, Lester's a loved character, and I think if he gets off scot-free, I think that would potentially hurt.
It might hurt, but that could make him such like a evil force that people just can't stand in the show. Like, you're like, this guy got off scot-free for Lester's murder, and now he gets to run for election again, even though he's a convicted felon. 34 counts. It's fine.
Another issue that I had was, and I love the fact that like people figured this out. So, when we talked with Blake from Nerds at Night, he brought up it's Bo Tillman theory. It's beautiful, it's Bo Tillman. And holy crap, whoever figured that one out, you are brilliant. I absolutely love that. However, the fact that autocorrect happened twice for me didn't make sense, because like the way that autocorrect works is like it doesn't autocorrect multiple words, it autocorrects the last word you did. So that would mean that like both Lester and Howard didn't add a space with Bo Tillman. And so it autocorrected that whole word, you know, because the way that autocorrect would work is like you type in Bo space. If it doesn't autocorrect that, you put in Tillman, and then I don't know what it, you know, thinks that is, but it like autocorrects Tillman to something. I don't know what, you know?
I do agree. And originally when Blake was telling us that theory, I even shot it down. I was like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why would that even be a thing? I think that's just Lester saying it's beautiful where he got married. So
right.
I also didn't love that was a clue. I love that people figured it out. I love that.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that people are that smart and I'm not. And I was even denying it because I was like, that makes no sense. Like, because like you, like it wouldn't say like Bo Tillman, which also like Bo Tillman are very common words that wouldn't necessarily be autocorrected unless it was one word like you were saying. And the fact that both him and Howard did it, what are the odds? What are the odds?
However, thinking about it for a little bit kind of made one part more believable for me.
Oh?
Okay, so Howard has been pointed at as a Moriarty type figure for a number of reasons. And whether or not he is a Moriarty figure or if he just like wants so desperately to be a part of this and does absolutely anything to help out, even while pretending to be bumbling. This is not the first time that something that he has accidentally said or done has given the answer. So they already saw the text that said it's beautiful and they didn't think anything of it, right?
Right.
And then Bo Tillman comes downstairs and Howard, you know, sends a text saying it's beautiful. Oops, autocorrect, it's Bo Tillman, which seems like such a goof, but it like gives the trio the answer. And this is not the first time he's done that. And what if that is intentional? When they are right there in danger and they like, or they like can't get past a certain spot, he gives them what they need while pretending to be bumbling. Which like I can totally see Lester autocorrecting because like Lester's running, so maybe he didn't hit the space key.
Yeah.
And so it was all one jumble of letters and it autocorrected that. I can actually buy that one.
Yeah, no, I could buy that one. That one makes sense.
So if Howard is sending like a coded message while pretending to be his usual lovable bumbling self, whether it's so he can be part of the group or whether it's because like he's got these other things going on.
He did point to the scooter. He knew the scooter.
Right.
And, you know, one other thing I will point out about Howard is he's in every opening credits. Every other character is not in. I don't know if he's in every opening credits, but he is pretty much a main staple of the opening credits. And most, like, Uma's not there, Vince isn't there, Detective Williams isn't there. And I know in previous seasons he's pointed the gang in the right direction too. So, and plus with the end of this episode, he seemed like he did not care that a woman just died in front of the Arconia. He was more worried about that her not dying in the Arconia than like, oh, sorry, this is going to be bad for your podcast. Like, I wish she died a little bit closer in. So he did seem like he had no remorse for that. Like he just is worried about this podcast that he's not even really a part of. So he's got to be something.
Right. Yes.
I don't know if he's Moriarty or if he will have something that he knows everything. Like he installed cameras that nobody knows about or has listening devices everywhere in the building and that's how he gets his gossip. He's just got like microphones planted throughout everywhere. So he knows everything already and he likes watching them, you know, try to sleuth their way through it when he knows the real killer the whole time. I don't know. But I don't trust him. I don't trust that he's innocent.
But what's like, I could also see it as like the other side of it being just like he wants to be involved so badly that even if he has to pretend he's not helping, but he actually does help. Like, so I can see it going either way. I love that you have a different feel on this, like this episode, this season than I do. And there is a wide range of opinions on this season. So Dawn gathered some interesting and funny ones for us to look at.
Okay.
Starting with this one from our good friend Blake from Nerds at Night. I want to stab this season in the ankle.
Blake, you are right. I mean, there were a lot of frustrating parts of the season. I think maybe there was just a lot of the comedy I liked, but yeah, no, I could see wanting to stab it in the ankle, like not kill it, but mortally wound it for a time being.
And I think that might be like disproportionately for people like us that are like really diving in. I think you're more likely to find like plot holes that can kind of frustrate you and pull you out of what otherwise I do genuinely believe is a great comedy, you know? All right, so let's see the next one. It's time to put Only Murders in the Building out to pasture. What began as a funny, quirky series full of charm has withered into a hollow imitation of its former self. The plot is far-fetched, the cameos feel forced, and the storytelling is fragmented and dull. It's a waste of great talent and of your time. If you loved Only Murders in the Building in its early seasons, do yourself a favor and skip season 5 entirely.
Whoa.
Ouch.
Which is interesting because I would say my least favorite season was season 2.
Okay.
So I think like season 2 was my least favorite. And I think I do agree with this where there was just a lot going on this season. There was just too many different things. Like if you think about like the previous seasons, like the first season we were just focusing on the tenants. Second season, I don't even really remember most of what was going on in that season. That's why it's probably my least favorite. Third season, it was all about Broadway. Fourth season was all about like filmmaking and like stunt coordinators, where this season it was like it couldn't really pick a lane, right? It was like billionaires and the mafia, which is you can kind of argue. And opera and
AI
and Oliver's tragic. AI and Thea,
AI.
pop star, and bird watching. Like there was just like so many different pieces that it does feel kind of like it was hard to like tie everything together perfectly. The mayor was involved. Like
I would say definitely not discounting anybody's opinion. Like your feelings are your own. If you feel that way, let us know your thoughts on the season, the episode in the comments, because we all have completely different experiences. For me, this season didn't end it for me, and I'm not going to stop watching it.
And to add to your point, I feel like this season was the least meta of the seasons. Like it had commentary about maybe social things that are going on right now with AI and billionaires and crooked politicians. So it had like a commentary, but it wasn't necessarily meta about everything. And this show, I think, does meta the best. So
the best.
Another reason I could agree.
Definitely. Okay, next one. Season 5 feels like it was written by 10 different people independently and hemmed together on the fly. The plot is weak and the characters are paper thin. The dialogue is embarrassingly bad. I'll finish the season, but I won't look forward to another. It's shockingly bad.
Shockingly bad.
Yeah, ouch.
I will say the hemmed together thing, I think that's
you mentioned
a bunch
that,
of different, so many different plot lines, and they're all trying to like make it all work as one cohesive plot line. And so I think that's where they're getting with this. Yeah, I would also agree with the dialogue, because I do feel like our trio, who are like the best, quippiest characters, again, I feel like they just didn't have a lot to do this season, and they weren't as fun and quippy as they normally are.
I feel like there were fewer of those moments in the episode, and I think a good part of that is like the trio and their voice.
Right.
All right, let's see this next one.
4 out of 5 stars, my homie.
Season 5 of Only Murders in the Building still brings that cozy crime comfort food we signed up for. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez are effortlessly sharp And the new faces, fresh suspects with real bite, make the mystery feel surprisingly solid again. The whodunit itself is twisty enough to keep you guessing between laughs, even if a few jokes and subplots overstay their welcome. Looking at you, Robot Doorman. The show still oozes charm and style, even when it trips over its own cleverness.
That Robot Doorman is named Lester. Get it right, buddy. Okay? First off. And second of all, I think a different AI wrote this review to defame Lester.
Let's not trash people's thoughts. We can definitely disagree with them. Your feelings are real.
The Robot Doorman is named Lester.
He's named Lester, and he's played by the much loved Paul Rudd. And do we get more Paul Rudd? Like, is he just going to stay on as like this voice role?
I hope so, in some form. I hope they leave the Robot Doorman.
I mean, the nice thing there is if they can leave him in, potentially as like a second doorman, kind of like he is. And they don't have to worry about like scheduling conflicts because he can record his lines from like any studio near him at any time. He doesn't have to like line up his schedule with whoever else is shooting his scene. So we can get more Paul Rudd without having to worry about what he's doing with his life. That makes me happy.
Yeah, but just like this commenter says, that the Robot Doorman has overstayed its welcome. And no. I could also see that having this like robot AI that can like hack into the cameras and do all these different things. Like, I don't necessarily know if that would help the longevity of the show.
I mean, we'll get into this, but yeah, I mean, he may not be much in next season for a reason that we'll probably be getting into in that bit.
Yes.
Okay. Next one. Stripper Charles was not on my bingo card, but I am here for it.
Well, I'm surprised it wasn't on your bingo card because Steve Martin, the GOAT of physical comedy, that's on all of my guesses that it would happen.
Yes. Okay, next one. 1 out of 10 stars. Okay. What happens when screenwriters lose a bet to 12-year-old kids? Ouch. Okay. Representative of this entire 5th season, what the fuck happened to this brilliant show? I have never seen such an instant decline in quality as I had to sit through going from season 4 to season 5 here. While the kickoff still suggested a good and worthy addition to the previous seasons, what unfolded from episode 2 to the finale can only be described as an insult to the viewer's common sense and taste in at least decent writing, acting, and cutting. I'm not sure what would make me even consider to give a potential season 6 a chance. Damn shame.
Damn shame. Well, that's rough. I feel Tina Fey coming back might give me a chance to come back. Maybe.
Yeah. It sounds like the show might have lost this person.
Oh yeah, they're gone.
I hope people give season 5 a chance. Like at least like wait for 3 to 4 episodes to come out and like see what the feel is, and like if people are digging it, then like binge those, because a show like this can turn around with a season,
And I do feel a lot of shows struggle in their 5th, 6th, 7th season. There is sometimes a low point. Like not every season can be a standout, quality season. And we saw this with How I Met Your Mother, where the season qualities started to decline, and where the characters become caricatures of what they're supposed to be. And I don't feel like we've hit that yet. I think overall that maybe the plot has turned into a caricature of what it's meant to be, and like the seriousness of trying to solve a murder and what they're going through. So, I can't expect every season to be a hit. I can't expect every season to be well received.
Yeah.
And we are in the 5th season, but I still have hope that they can still deliver quality seasons.
1,000%. I think season 6 has real potential. We'll talk about that. Okay, we're going to talk about the end of this episode, right? We're going to talk about Cinda Canning, the big reveal.
Yes.
We're going to talk about our thoughts and theories, maybe, for like season 6.
Yes.
But before we do that, I just want to do a very brief segue, which is we're a small channel and we've had a ton of growth recently, and it's meant so much to me. It's been awesome. I really appreciate it. Like everybody that has subscribed, commented, watched our videos, like all of that has been just absolutely awesome. We are a small channel. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs. So if you're enjoying the content, then we would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing. If you are wondering what to watch next, we are going to be covering Pluribus on Apple TV, and then we will be covering Drops of God on Apple TV. And I'm not just plugging those because like those are the shows that you and I are doing. Genuinely, I am so excited about those two. All right, let's get back to Only Murders. Why people are here. So, Only Murders, the end. What did you think?
So I loved the initial tease of them listening to the podcast with Cinda Canning. I liked that was originally kind of what got them into this. So it like almost feels like a callback to the original roots of the show. And yes. I liked hearing the great Tina Fey narrating about the girl in curls as we see a girl in curls. And so we're expecting that this girl that she's speaking of is this girl that's running to the Arconia. And I loved how it subverted our expectations by it actually being Cinda Canning. So I thought it was great because it is somebody that we are connected to from the show, but not necessarily somebody we're going to feel like incredibly bad about.
Yes. I also feel like it was the most meta moment in the show. Kind of like you, I felt like this season didn't give us a lot of like really meta moments. They definitely said, something season 5, but it almost felt like obligatory. It didn't actually feel like it was like really deconstructing the material and like really having this like smart meta moment. And that felt like such a, like, especially when they're like splitting the hairs of, you could argue that like Lester was in the courtyard. What is in the building?
Yeah. What about the airspace around the building?
So I definitely enjoyed that. I thought that was, a big surprise. This does mean that we get exciting new locations. They're going to be shooting at least some of this in London or in England. I don't know if it's in London.
I think it's London.
Super excited about that. I think that's going to be cool. Do you have any thoughts, theories about could this be good, about what might happen, anything?
So my one fear is that kind of like what I had of the fear of the season 4 was, a lot of this is going to take place in LA because they're not in the building, yada, yada, yada. So I think I have a little bit of like reservations that they're trying to solve Only Murders in the Building. Also, the act of whatever happened with Cinda Canning clearly didn't happen in the building, which is fine, but now they're going to be out of the building in London, so I don't know how that dynamic's going to affect everything. But I could see some really cool stuff of like, say Cinda Canning has recorded all of her episodes for the podcast that she was doing, and they follow that as like to get to the clues of what they're looking for. I feel like you could return to form a little bit, have more meta commentary about the podcast while listening to a podcast, and like having the podcast guide you. So I think there could be some really cool things done with that. But I don't know if I'm excited that it's not near the Arconia, or part of it will be not near the Arconia.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a return to form. I think they're going to want to like really nail this season. So I think it's going to be a great season. And I even have a theory about what it could be related to, or like some of the parallels that they will use. Like we've seen like theater, we've seen movies, we've seen operas. I think that you can't have the UK and a murder mystery without referencing Sherlock.
Oh, so a lot of maybe this is a Sherlock heavy inspiration season. Oh, okay. Yes. I didn't think about that, but I think that's a great idea.
And I think that means that they will either actually have the like Moriarty reveal, or like introduce maybe that's not the killer, but maybe they finally like formally introduce that character, you know, where you can see that there is somebody messing with them, even if it's not the killer. And so they don't reveal who it is. I think that is an option. Or I think they troll us knowing that like we're going to be thinking about Sherlock. We're going to be thinking about Moriarty. And so maybe they just like troll us a little bit. And then there's no kind of like Moriarty type thing going on. That's my thoughts about the future.
I could definitely see it being a tease for that and like building up that Moriarty figure in the Arconia, because there is still a lot of unanswered questions throughout the seasons. So I think that being in London would be a great segue to be like, look, there is a big bad of the Arconia. Who is it? I think that'd be cool. And hopefully it is a return to form. And hopefully that we can, some of the people that were disappointed in this season will give it a try and come back and it'll be stronger than ever. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
But with that, I think our journey has come to an end. Thank you folks so much for joining along with us. Come back next week as we will have a couple special videos for you. Until then, I'm Mark. This is Sterling.
Thanks.